following announcement has been paid for by the new Howl Order.
Whether the team is giving us the highest of highs, the blue is the blue. That's it all here. Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So the Rivera countdown continues. 12 days and counting until the entire house is cleaned and we start anew. Quick poll question for you today. I was perusing social media. Really didn't have true inspiration for today's show. Nothing really grabbed my attention. I saw that EB had something to say about Sam's benching. I don't know why he's not playing well. You know, I had a lot to say about that, but that's a waste of energy. I don't care at this point. He's benched. It's over. You know, I don't want to be talking about something that's, to me, irrelevant at this point. I've already talked about the reasons why. I don't need to bore you with that all over again. So I didn't feel like that was appropriate for me to come up and talk about that stuff, because I've talked about it a million times as to why I think we've gotten to this point. I've made it abundantly clear over and over again. So I saw that. There was, you know, an article that was written that I saw people kind of, you know, bandying about, you know, where it said that Washington was a team to watch to go up and get Caleb Williams. Woo, that's a great article. Like, that's the stupidest thing ever right now, because the people that'll be making that decision aren't in the building right now. So how can you even say something like that right now? The next group that comes in here could think that Drake May's the best quarterback in this draft class. You can't say that, oh, watch Washington as a potential team, unless the owner is more involved than we think he's going to be. And all signs point to this ownership group, Josh Harris in particular, as being a guy that's going to hire the GM and allow him to do his job and back off, right? That's what all signs point to. That's what we've been told. That's how he's run his other organizations. He's put the front office in place, right? And then he's moved back and allowed them to do the things that they feel like they need to do to be successful. And if that continues, if we are to assume that, then you can't speculate about who the next quarterback is going to be here. So I thought that was a stupid ass article that really didn't bear any fruit. If you want to talk about that, knock yourself out. Here's what I want to talk about. Shit that we can talk about now because it's opinion based, right? Now that's something I can get with. An opinion, because there's nothing tied to an opinion, all right? So I was perusing social media and I saw a post asking a question that I thought was an interesting question. I've asked you some form of this, but now I want to actually put it in poll form so that you can answer it and I can get tangible data that we can discuss. That's what I'm looking for. So, with that said, I want to give a shout out to @DC Sports XP. All right, DC Sports Experience. Actually, really smart. You know, I think he does a really good job on Twitter, or X. To be honest with you, I think he's got some really thoughtful posts. I think he gets it. He's a smart. This person is pretty smart as far as I can see. And I thought this was a really good poll question here. And DC Sports Experience writes, December and QB questions, the tradition in DC, which they're not wrong. This is something we seem to be having a conversation with every single year. As I mentioned earlier in the week, Ronald Rivera made this exact move last year when he benched Heineke in favor of Carson Wentz in week 17 heading into that Browns game. So we were literally having the same conversation, different set of circumstances. We were playing for something then. We're not playing for a damn thing now other than wanting to lose and get the draft position. But still the same questions persist, right? But this is the real question. This is what I really wanted to get to. Shout out to DC Sports Experience once again. Which option are you choosing? And I have a poll question that is attached to this. I will put the link down in the description as well as pin it to the the top of the comment section. But all you have to do is go to my community wall. Okay, all you have to do is go to the Louie T Network community wall, and the poll will be there. But I'll make it even easier for you, and I will put the link to this poll in the comment section, pin that there, and also have it in the description of this video. But here are your 4 options. It's pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy. Which option are you choosing? A, stick with Hal at least 1 more year. B, somehow draft hometown Caleb Williams. C, somehow draft Drake May. D, somehow draft Heisman Trophy winner Jaden Daniels. So I'm going to plant a seed. You can do whatever you want, okay? I'm not looking to sway you in any direction. Between B, C, and D, I've started my preliminary work on those 3 candidates. And for me, if you want off script, if you want off schedule, if you want Mahomes, if you want, someone that's going to be dynamic when things break down, Caleb Williams is your man. The question for me with him, and I've already told you guys this, is he going to be good from the pocket? When things are on schedule and on time, can he be accurate in that regard consistently over and over and over again? He's not the biggest guy in the world. Can he see over the offensive line, etc., etc.? But if you're looking for dynamic playmaking ability, the ability to escape the pocket, to extend, to make things happen, he's got that Mahomes-like quality. Caleb Williams is your guy. If you're looking for what I think is the cleanest from the pocket of the 3 quarterbacks, Drake May is your guy. And he still offers you the ability to extend off schedule. Also, he gives you prototypical NFL quarterback size, something that you don't get with Caleb Williams. He's 6'4", he's got a good arm, throws a nice deep ball, etc., etc. Solid athlete, not a great athlete, good enough, right? More than capable of extending the play. He gives me Justin Herbert type vibes without the size. Like Justin Herbert's 6'5", 200 and maybe 30 pounds, 235, something like that. Drake May is probably 6'4", 200 and maybe 20 pounds, maybe 215, 220, which again, that's solid size. He's not as thickly built, right? But he's a solid athlete, more than capable of getting it done in that regard too. Probably the most balanced, if I would say, the most balanced of the 3 prospects. And then Jaden Daniels is the Heisman Trophy winner. I think he's got the it factor in regards to winning the Heisman and some of the hype that comes with that. Of the 3, I think he is the guy with the highest bust potential because I see a lot of underthrown footballs. I see a lot of him, making plays again with his legs. And he can be dynamic in that regard. And I do think that's something that could persist and continue into the NFL. So I do think he's a playmaker with his legs. With his arm, however, I'm not overly impressed. Not at all, to be honest with you. And again, I got more work to do. And there will be more games. But I'll just tell you this. If you're looking for a highlight tape, Caleb Williams provides you everything you're looking for. If you watch Jaden Daniels highlights, you're not going to be blown away, right? Not going to be blown away. So, what says you? Again, got a poll question. I've got the poll. I want you to vote. We will come back and we will discuss this poll. I'm thinking tomorrow, but I really want to give everybody a chance to vote. And you may not watch this video until tomorrow, right? You may not watch it till tomorrow night. So what I think I may ultimately do is give you the weekend and then come back next week and we jump into this next week, give you time to keep that poll open for maybe 4 or 5 days and give you a chance to vote. And then we'll jump in and read the responses. Hopefully we'll get somewhere in the neighborhood of 500 votes, which will give us a nice little sample size. It'd be great to get 1,000, right? That's an even better sample size, but, we'll see what happens. Whatever we get, we'll discuss it nonetheless. I kind of want to just get a feel for where you guys are in this process. And I've given you 5 options. My 5 options are all the 4 that you see in front of you, and then other. And the other option would include trading back, selecting a wide receiver, selecting an offensive tackle. That's what other entails. I don't have to explain to you what other is. It's anything but one of these 4, right? Trading back, selecting, staying where you are and selecting a wide receiver, a tight end, a tackle, anything not quarterback, essentially, or one of these quarterbacks, right? So, other. That encapsulates everything other than the 4 options in front of you. So, I digress. Hopefully, you participate in the poll question. So, let's get to in other news. I really don't feel the need to talk a lot about this Week 17 matchup, but I'm going to do it anyway in the spirit of keeping continuity and the rhythm of the show and what you come to expect here, even though a lot of you at this point, probably like myself, don't give a damn about this game. I just want to make sure that Washington doesn't win, and they're not going to beat San Francisco, trust me. I'm more concerned about next week's game against Dallas because the Cowboys may not have a thing to play for, depending on how things shake out with Philadelphia and themselves and how everything kind of lines up. Philadelphia may have the division sewn up by next week. If Dallas doesn't beat Detroit and Philadelphia beats Arizona, which we expect, the division's over. And now Dallas is locked into the 5th seed, have absolutely zero reason to, play their starters in Week 18, and we might be going after Cooper Rush. Yay. So the Cowboys could still screw us even when we want them to do us. We'll see what happens. Anyway, let's get to the injury report for both teams for week number 17. So at the time of this video, Thursday wasn't available, but we did a pretty good job last week, and we usually do a pretty good job of guessing, drawing inferences as to what we think is going to happen. Obviously, we get the vet rest days for both Kendall Fuller and Jonathan Allen. They did the same thing last week. I expect them to practice today. We're not worried about those guys missing the game. Larson and Leno missed the game last week. Ridgeway did as well. Chris Rodriguez injured himself against the Jets. Did not practice yesterday. I don't know if he practices today, but word out on the street is Brian Robinson Jr. will be back this week. I told you I thought he would be back this week. There's no guarantees yet. Obviously he was limited on Wednesday, but Antonio Gibson spoke to the media yesterday, and he pretty much insinuated that Brian Robinson Jr. would be back this week. So I am looking forward to that because I do think he's one of the players moving forward that we will be able to rely on. Benjamin St. Juste, concussion, not going to play in this game. That's been a problem with him throughout his career. If you recall, his rookie season, he missed the back end of the season due to a concussion. And last year, he missed some time. I don't know if he missed it with a concussion last year, but that's been a concern of his. And now he's got another one, probably going to miss this game. And I wouldn't be shocked if his season isn't done due to that concussion. Percival Butler, wrist. Brian Robinson Jr., hamstring, and Andrew Wiley, elbow, all limited. So remember I had said that I don't know if they benched Wiley, which I should have known better. They're not going to bench Andrew Wiley this late in the season. If they were going to do it, they would have been done it. I should have known he got injured, and that's why he didn't finish the game. And that's why we saw the, 4th string tackle in the game. And again, he kept it nice and quiet on that right side. So we had no issues out of him. But Wiley limited, he'll probably play in this game, is my guess. And I didn't miss him. Not going to lie to you, I didn't miss him. So I think all 3 of those guys are going to play. Percival Butler, Brian Robinson Jr., and Andrew Wiley. And then Deshaun Harris and David Mayo are both full participants. And who cares, right? They look like they both will play. On the 49ers side, Eric Armstead, Aaron Banks, Jair Brown, and Juwan Jennings and Jalen Moore all did not practice on Wednesday. Armstead and Banks are interesting to watch. Banks in particular because he's their starting left guard next to Trent Williams, and he really injured himself pretty good at the end of that Ravens game. So wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't play. Everybody else limited or full participants: Oren Burks, Ross Dwelly, Javon Hargrave, Deebo Samuel, and Aubrey Thomas, Trent Williams, all limited. I expect most of them to go. If you don't feel like Trent Williams can go, we don't have a single pass rusher that's going to threaten you. You don't have to play Trent Williams this week. If you don't think Deebo Samuel is necessary, don't play him. We're not going to beat you. Trust me. You're going to win this football game. So if you've got a couple of guys that need a break, that rest them. Trust me. You won't lose this game. But don't leave it to chance, right? Don't leave it to chance. Danny Gray, wide receiver, Elijah Mitchell, running back, and Brock Purdy, their quarterback, all full participants, all will be available, barring a setback, on Sunday. Most of these guys are going to play for the 49ers. But again, if Javon Hargrave, is a little sore and you just don't want to push it, it's Washington. You don't need him. You're going to win. Same thing with Trent Williams and Deebo Samuel. These are important guys down the stretch and into the postseason. And yes, you're playing for a first-round bye, and that would be very, very impactful for guys that have nicks and bruises right now. You need to be healthy down the stretch. But trust me, Washington isn't going to beat you in this game. Show up, do the things that you're capable of doing, and you will be just fine, right? I think Brandon Ayuk can handle it by himself, honestly. Anybody that resembles a number one usually eats well against this team. So like to think that you could take care of business without having some of your best players in the lineup. But I digress. Anyway, we move on to behind enemy lines. Is a 12.5-point underdog. I actually think that number is too low. Like to think that the 49ers are going to win this touchdown by 2 touchdowns or more, but I guess the insertion of Jacoby Brissett into the lineup maybe gives Washington just a little bit more pop for Vegas, and so thus the number isn't a little bit higher. It started out at 13.5. I think the announcement of Jacoby Brissett starting brought it down 1 point from 13.5 to 12.5. That's my guess. Maybe there's a little money on Washington that moved the number a little bit, not much. I don't see how Washington keeps this game, relatively close. So I think even if Washington is competitive early, it'll get away from them late. I don't see how they find a way to win this game. One of the storylines, I just needed to mention this, coming into this game, obviously, is Chase Young returning to Washington. He was here. Week 8 was his last game, was traded immediately thereafter. Him and Montez Sweat were traded heading into Week 9. He's back 8 weeks later in Week 17, taking on the team that drafted him here back in 2020. He says it's just another game. That's a lie, but that's what you're supposed to say. I don't blame him for saying that. He'll feel a lot differently after the game's done, probably be a little bit more forthcoming after the game is done. But again, that's the right thing to say. He wants to stick it to Washington, as he should, and his team will. Has he made a huge difference there from a sack perspective, from a numbers perspective? He himself, no. He hasn't made that big of a difference. But if you look at the sack totals since he's gotten there, they have increased. He does give the defense or a little bit of a pop. And it does give the offense another guy that you have to block. Bosa's numbers have soared since his arrival. When he got there, Bosa only had 3 sacks. Now Bosa has 10 sacks. So clearly he has impacted that defensive front. And it's not just him. They continue to add players, right? They got the former Cowboy and Bronco, Randy Gregory, who's starting to really acclimate himself. They just signed Sebastian Joseph Day, who will probably be available this week. So they're continuing to add pieces into that mix. But Chase Young's arrival has helped that defense tremendously. Not in the way of him posting numbers, but helping free up other guys who are capable of getting to the quarterback on a consistent basis. That said, will he get a sack against us? My guess is he'll probably notch one. For the old hometown kid, he'll probably grab one. And the crowd will probably give him a rousing ovation. Like, they should have never traded you, Chase. But and 49ers fans do travel, so I expect them to take over this game and win comfortably. But again, we will see. I actually want to see how Jacoby Brissett is going to do in this game. Want to see how the offense looks. Want to see if it's way more fluid, if they do some different things, because it felt like I was watching two totally different games. I read a clip from a Jets defender after the game that said, when Jacoby came in, they ran the football effectively, and that threw us off balance. Remember, we've heard that before. Remember I talked about that? When I forgot what team it was and what defender, I think it was David Long, who talked about the run game and how effective it was and how they needed to run the ball more, and that's who they were really keying in on coming into the game, and those guys did a really good job of running the football. They just don't run it enough. Like, that's not the first time we've heard that this season, but the Jet defender was like, they ran it really good in the second half, and that made us have to respect, the run game a little bit more, so it opened up holes underneath and gave them opportunities to throw the football that weren't there in the first half when we were able to be more aggressive because they weren't running the football. Again, to me, it all falls back on the play calling. We start there. That's not the end-all, be-all. That's not why it's not working on offense by itself, right? We can't look at it from a vacuum perspective. But you start with the play calling, and then you trickle down there, because every play call isn't a disaster. You can go out and execute it and have some success, or you can make something happen with the play call, whether it's a good one or not. But to make it worse is on the players, Sam included. And we've seen that a lot of times from Sam, that he's making these play calls, which aren't very good to begin with, even worse with some of the decisions that he's making, and then guys are slipping on the ground and stupid shit like that. But in any event, I actually want to see how Jacoby does in the offense. I'm actually anxious to see if it looks any different with a veteran running the show who is getting the ball out of his hands a lot quicker than Sam, who's playing a much more decisive quarterback position than Sam was at the end. I want to see if it looks a lot different. Well, only one way to find out. We'll see on Sunday at 1 o'clock. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on Commanders Nightly News. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys tomorrow, one final time before the game. I don't think I'm going to get to a live stream this week. It just wasn't in the cards with the NFC East Super Friends and just the helter-skelter nature of this week. But I do want to give a shout-out to my guy Frank McLaughlin. He's just been awesome, and you had a awesome dono over the weekend, and I can't thank you enough for the support. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to my guy Frank McLaughlin for continuing to hold the kid down, man. You've been awesome this year, and I can't thank you enough for the support. But we will be live after the game on Sunday. We'll chop it up there. And I promise I'll have a better audio setup. It was pretty janky last week. I'll clean that up, and we'll chop it up. I'll be at my parents', so it's not going to be me in the office, the same old regular setup. But we will chop it up at games, and it'll be on New Year's Eve too. So I won't talk your head off, so you can get back to whatever proceedings that you're participating in. But we will chop it up before New Year's hits. So that's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. And I'll be live after the Cowboys game, so if you're not doing anything Saturday night after that Lions-Cowboys game, come join me. We'll break it all down. You know how we do it. So until then, you guys have a good one. God bless. Good night. Answer the poll question.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap, hand to Riggins. Good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20.